What's up, Lemonheads? Welcome to a whole nother episode of From the Yellow Chair. I am Crystal, and today, guys, listen, the guy that we have on here today and where his heart and mind and vision are for the industry and the trades, I connected with immediately. Both of us love Jesus. We love relationships. We love our people, and we cannot wait to share with you how we feel about the difference that relationships make. So you're going to want to buckle up, saddle up, get everything you need because it's time for us to sip some lemonade. All right. Trapper, welcome to the party here at old Lemon Seed Marketing and From the Yellow Chair. How's it going?
It's going awesome. I'm so excited to be with you today.
Well, I really appreciate it. From the minute that you and I were talking, kind of saw you doing some stuff, some mutual friends connected us, and it just really resonated with my heart. So I want everybody to kind of hear like who you are, why they should listen to what you have to say, kind of vibes today.
Perfect. All right. Well, Trapper Searles here, originally from Casper, Wyoming, in Scottsdale, Arizona now, way of Denver, after 23 years there in the trades, owning a garage door company. And, I think if anyone wants to listen to me, hopefully it's for impact and purpose-driven content. I'm super passionate about a lot of things, but relationships and the trades are the biggest ones. So.
I love it. I love it. And let me tell you, the first time that I heard you talk about relationships, it really resonated with me because I think that so many people ignore relationships and they try to become so corporatized and so, and again, home service industry, I'm talking to us. We want processes. We process ourselves right out of being able to treat people like individuals, not even on purpose, just for sake of scale and sake of mental control. If we had to treat every single person independently and individually, sometimes that feels very overwhelming. But really, isn't that what everything is built on? Is relationships. And I just love it. And so today, I thought we could really talk through like the power of perspective, how you can look at things a little differently. How do we kind of get jolted out of our everyday grind and for a lot of us, like what we've always known in the business, and then the importance of serving others. At Lemon Seed, one of our core values, we use the acronym ZESTY, but the S stands for servant-minded advocates, meaning we are advocating for our clients and we are serving them. And it's important to me that our clients feel served and loved and appreciated. But also like how leaders can really create meaningful influence that goes past kind of their knowledge of their trade, honestly, but like really building and leading teams with a good culture and meaningful, like I said, meaningful influence to them. So I thought we could start like talking about defining, honestly, success really, Trapper, beyond achievements, right? The awards and the revenue goals and things like that. What does that look like for you? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. That's something that's really important to me in the life I'm living now, so to speak. I was very consumed by the accolades and the financial rewards of working hard and the rewards of doing so and the success that I thought defined that. Today, I believe that success is defined by, am I living the life I'm aligned to live? And so, it's easy for me to feel successful because I feel like I'm living my aligned life all the time. So I don't really tie it to the financial success. I don't tie it at all to that. And so if I'm being a great husband, a great dad, if I'm contributing to impact and purpose and intentionality, and if I'm addressing the day and coming at the day with a servant heart, servant leadership, then I feel like I had a pretty good day.
Yeah, you accomplished some things. Well, and again, so many people, and I see this I don't even know that's necessarily in a bad way, but I see this often where contractors are coming like, I don't know why this guy that's been in business 3 years is doing so much better than me. And I've been in business 20 years. And they're so defeated from
Mhm.
what they think is competition or where they should be. And honestly, I'm like, man, the only race you're running is your race. That's it. That's it. And if you live your life in comparison, which hello social media, but if you live your life in comparison, like you miss celebrating achievements that maybe you employed the guy that needed a hand up and now he's buying his first house. Maybe you were able to donate donate a system to a veteran. Maybe again, you may not be the biggest revenue and the biggest growth and the most trucks on the road, but you run a very healthy and safe, if you will, for your employees' business. And it really is an achievement that you might miss if you're constantly looking at what everybody else is doing.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I can share a quick story of that exact scenario. I remember before social media, believe it or not, because I started my company in 2005 and I'm 43 years old.
Ah,
So it goes way back. But I remember a company called One Clear Choice, garage doors in Denver, owned by Chris Chapman, part of the Guild Group now. And that guy, him and I, we've had this conversation that I'm about to share, and he's actually a good friend of mine now, and I look at him as a mentor. I remember I just couldn't stand him and One Clear Choice. Now I never met him. I just was like, why am I not that far? I was the person comparing myself and my race to his race. And it's crazy because I think it was 2015. We were both being honored, so to speak, at a Team Dave Logan event at a lunch, and there was probably like 150 people. And I remember talking to a friend of mine that worked with me, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go talk to him. I never met the guy. And for 10 years, I just despised him. And I walked up to him and I was like, hey, I've never liked you. And he goes, why? He goes, I don't think we've ever met. Yeah, he goes, I don't think we've ever met. And I go, no, we haven't. I said, I just don't understand. Like, I feel like I've done everything right. And I'm just not where you are. And he was like, there's a image or a saying like compared to like Michael Phelps. And there's a picture of Michael Phelps in a pool. And then he's focused on the wall. And the guy behind him is focused on him. And Chris said, winners focus on what they're doing and losers focus on winners. And I said, you know what? You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
He goes, you know what? He goes, from this way forward, just consider me a friend. And if there's anything I can do to help you and your business move forward, I was like taken aback.
Yeah.
That this successful guy was so open to help me. And I just was so insecure to look at it from a different perspective, which we were talking about earlier. So that's my story. And Chris and I actually, we went through a lot of processes around the same time with exiting our companies to different places. And so he's still a friend of mine.
Well, and listen, like I get cracked up. You'll see people go on Facebook to tell us how unbothered they are that their competition did something. They bought a new truck or they added a mascot or they got on radio. And I'm like, you're so unbothered that you decided to make a Facebook post about it. Like totally. you showed us, girl, like you showed us you are, and I mean, I get it. Like, and listen, everybody has the fear of competition. And you know what, though? It's good for us. And so a lot of our clients at Lemon Seed, like I warn them, I'll say, listen, when you really hit the gas and we start putting your brand out there, you start treating the community right, you start showing up in more places than a digital place. All of a sudden, people are going to figure it out. And it's going to take them like a year. And then they're going to start doing everything you do. Because a lot of times they don't have their own creative thoughts. And you're going to get pissed off. Because you're going to be like, why are they following me around? But you know what? I look at that. That is a challenge. That's an opportunity for me to keep bobbing and weaving. And like the minute they figure out what I'm doing, I'm moved on from that. I'm doing this now. And you have to look at it as, number one, now that they've decided to level up their game, that they better level up that pricing to match.
That's right. I mean, hey, listen, in any industry, especially in the trades, we definitely should honor the rising tides raise all ships. And
Yep.
I'm a firm advocate of that, and thankful for some of the bigger leaders in the industries that I was in, for kind of stepping that up, because for a long time in the garage door space, specifically, we were like the lowest man on the totem pole of the trades, to the point of a lot of other trades still don't even consider us a trade.
Y'all are not well accepted into the group yet. Yes.
No, we're definitely home service professionals, but there's not enough criteria that goes into certifying, a solid garage door guy. I wish there was a lot more to that. And, but yeah, we were definitely the outskirts of the trades.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, the one time I had somebody tell me, you know what, if you're not getting kicked in the back, like kicked in the butt, that means you're not in the front. And so I'm telling you,
that's true.
If you don't feel the pressure, the good news is you ain't in the front, sister. So don't worry about it, because people will be like, well, my competition don't even mess with me. I'm like, oh, I don't think that's it. Like,
yeah, I agree.
So, okay. The next thing that I thought we could visit on is leading with purpose and service. And I wanted to say this to kind of kick off this conversation. So, my family owns and operates a heating and air conditioning and plumbing company. My sister and brother-in-law and I run a pest control company. My husband and I are partners in a roofing company. So we live home service. But I will say, when you lead and learn how to lead your team with humility and grace and kindness, and again, this is not going to be a popular opinion, Trapper, but I've never been one to walk into the room and cuss out people. We're listening to filthy language. We're promoting bad behavior like drugs, drinking, women. Like those things have never been a part of our story. Because if I want to lead a company, I have to start with myself. And so I can't be dropping F-bombs and mad at every team member and slamming down phones and losing my patience if I expect my team, especially if I have mid-level managers underneath me, to lead with grace and humility as well. And so, I watched my dad had a different mindset. So my dad was very much a marketing-minded guy. My brother comes along and he's very operationally driven. So neither one of them were blessed with patience. Okay. So immediately I was like, we need a trainer, because if not, naturally as an owner, you got a million things happening. The last thing I have is time for you to call me on something that we've trained you over 20 times. You can't figure it out. So I was like, looking at the makeup of our team and building the skill sets that we needed around our leadership was one of the best things we did, because it helped us lead with purpose, and you kind of knew. But what does that mean to you? Lead with purpose and service minded.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to kind of know kind of where I came from a little bit with that to where I am today, right? So I'll share a story, and a lot of people I don't think do this enough. I think a lot of people just want to be seen for who they are today, which I fully support. I do not believe we are who we were yesterday. I believe that we are who we are today, and we have an opportunity to be who we want to be tomorrow. Like I believe that. I coach it, I teach it, and all that. However, I didn't always have that awareness. Okay. And so I was the guy in 2010 to 2015 that would storm into the office if something didn't go right, and I'd rip somebody a new one because I had no awareness. I had no alignment. But what I'm going to share with you, which is super cool, and now, Crystal, you're the first one of like the group that we've been talking about that's going to hear this.
Okay.
Is we have developed, and this goes into exactly what you were just talking about, the 5 pillars of ROAR. Okay. And what's really special about it is, with what you just said, is if you are running a business in the trades and you aren't aligned and you don't have that self-awareness, you're going to be that guy that goes into the shop, and if something doesn't work or if somebody messed something up, etc., you're going to have the wrong perspective looking at it. However, the first pillar within ROAR's structure is self. So we have to understand who we are, why we're doing what we're doing, why we're aligned with what we're doing, before we can be aligned with our relationships. So that's like the first tier. So it sounds like, for you, you've had that alignment a little bit, but then there's those inner working relationships that don't have synergy yet. And so it's exciting. A lot of business owners don't want to admit that they were that guy.
Yeah.
Listen, the world is an open space. So like, I mean, any employee of mine that I used to have is out there. And so, there's no secret that I wasn't always a gem to work with or work for. However, that's what life's about. And, when you go through some of that self-discovery that I've gone through over the last few years, it's really special because then you start settling into like people that you belong around. That's why we're here today. It's
Yeah.
people that align with the vision and the purpose we have now.
Well, and I think we call that seagull leadership. You come in, you poop all over everything, and then you fly out, and again, I talk a lot about self-awareness because, I've had a couple of key defining moments in my life where I was very aware, sometimes good and sometimes bad. Meaning like I've been in relationships recently or in groups recently where I'm very intimidating, even though I don't mean to be. Because I tend to be confident. I tend to be a little bit louder, more energetic. And listen, that's not everybody's cup of tea. Nobody wakes up really, or a lot of people don't wake up wanting this level of energy at 8 a.m. So I've had to learn how to gauge myself. But some people get super turned off. Like I'm not changing who I am at all. And here's the good news. You don't have to. But the bad news is people don't have to accept you either. So if you want to choose to live a combative life, then by all means, girl, do your thing. But honestly, we get so much further with so many other people when we can be the first one to show some humility, when we can be the first ones to alter in a good way. Now, this is in a healthy way, monitor your idiosyncrasies, if you will. So I know as a leader sometimes that I can be unfocused. Because any new idea, I'm excited for new things when really I need to focus on existing things. That happens to me, right? So I can choose to be like, well, sorry, this is who I am. And same thing, my brother could have been like, sorry, I lead harsh, get on board or get out. Or we could take a good step back for a minute and say, okay, I love these people. I want them to feel successful. The change starts with me. Modifications start with me. So if I know I'm talking to a team member that is hypersensitive to my words, I can be the professional one and monitor myself first out of the gate. If I know I'm talking to a team member that needs lots of consolation and cheerleading, then you know what? Even though that's not my natural as a leader, I need to learn what makes them perform, what makes them feel good and accomplished. And that takes tons of self-awareness and willingness to care. Okay. Because especially dudes, some of y'all come out of the gate like, this is me. I have to lead this way because people take advantage of me. Dudes really feel like they've got something to prove.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, again, used to be that guy. I prefer being the guy that doesn't need to be that guy. It's a much easier life to live when you just like
chill out
and understand and be aware of the situation, not being reactionary. I think that's a big one. Just not going into something combative, right? I think that's a big part of it for sure.
When I call it default to good, right? So, I have two choices every time I'm presented with a problem. I can fly off the handle and be mad. I've trained y'all over this. What are y'all thinking? Or I can default to good. Okay. Somewhere my team member is not getting this. Let me default to good of there is some sort of communication problem, not a defiance issue.
Right. It's probably some sort of a process or a system. I mean, ultimately it might come down to us as the leader that implemented a system or a structure that's not working for how they're receiving it.
But as someone that deals with contractors, let me tell you what I hear all the time. I hear things like this. I'll say, okay, so what we really need to do is figure out how to get our average tickets up. Well, my guys aren't salespeople. So, and I'm like, okay, let me ask you this. Are you a person that likes to have money? He's like, yes. Okay. So I cannot tell you one heating and air conditioning company that was really built well off service only, tune-ups only. We've got to figure out that happy place where your team doesn't feel like they're salespeople all the time. But here's what and again, I coach on this literally. Here is the difference. You need to talk to your team about providing options. People want options. And I do this little exercise. And maybe you'll relate to this. This is a little East Texas country, Trapper. But I did this exercise at McWilliams where I said, okay, I took 2 guys and put them outside the room, and I brought the first guy in, and I said, congratulations, you've won a new side-by-side. Here it is. And I had a picture on the screen. Congratulations. Have a good day. You needed this. It's going to be great. Yes. What are you going to use it for? I can't wait to go hunting him a new side-by-side. Great. Sent him out of the room. The next guy I brought in the room, I said, congratulations, you've won this side-by-side. Now, let's look at it. Do you want wheels? You want a lift kit put on it? What about a gun rack? Do you need it to be 4-seater or 2-seater? Do you want a windshield on it? What about the paint color? And at the end, this guy's like, oh man, this is all souped up. I said, great. Sent him out of the room. Brought both of the guys back in the room. And I said, guys, how do you feel about your new side-by-side? And they're like, yeah, that's awesome, And then I said, well, tell us about yours. So the first guy's like, yeah, won this. And at the time, like 2018, it's awesome. And I go, what about you? And he goes, oh man, it's jacked up. It's got lights on it. And the guy was like, wait a minute. Why did he get so much of a better one? I'm like, oh, my bad. I didn't give you those options. And everybody in the room was like, okay. So I'm like, listen, you are not in the homeowner's pocketbook. Your job is to be the expert, provide solutions and opportunities. So always tell them how they can fix it every single time, no matter the cost. What would it cost to fix this grounded compressor on this 30-year-old system? Okay. What would it cost? But at the other end, you've got to give them the option to replace for a litany of reasons, right? And I think that your team has to understand how things impact, because they do feel like salespeople. And I know I've kind of rambled about that, but it's just a matter of like, you've got to lead your team into understanding who they really could be as people.
Yeah, I totally agree. We were a option heavy company.
Well, and if not, like, it's also, we have a responsibility, I think, to coach our teams on how to approach everything. Like, how do we approach, like, let's say they are backing out of a driveway and run over somebody's dog, or they fall, I'm HVAC based. So, from my history, so fall through an attic, fall through a ceiling, or they get hurt, or we've shown up on calls where the homeowner is deceased. Dead on the couch.
We had one of those. We had one of those too in our business.
So, we as leaders, guys, we have a responsibility to do everything we can to provide solutions and support to our team. Well, tell me a little bit. I know that you had to really overcome some adversity, some setbacks, some personal things in your journey. Tell us a little bit about what that looked like for you.
Yeah. As far as my entrepreneurial journey and that, I think the biggest challenges that came up were after I got married, and not because it was associated with my wife. It was this process that I actually am writing a book about called Blind Expectations. And now I know what those are. But when I was 21 years old and I met my wife and we got married, I applied an expectation that didn't exist to myself. And I created this expectation that my wife had about me and what our life should look like. And so that's one of the biggest things that I would say is through that journey of understanding that mountain that didn't have a top, there's nothing I could summit. That created some of the biggest challenges throughout my entire entrepreneurial journey. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's like one of the biggest setbacks. And then it led to a litany of others.
Yes. Which is your story to share. And that's what I think is powerful about building relationships and things, because no matter what, like people would argue, I would even tell you, my life, thankfully, has not been full of trauma and tragedy. And the older I get, the more blessed I realized I am by that. Now I've had my share of things, but not when I meet people. Sometimes I'm like, what they've been through is shattering, whether it be as a kid, as an adult, whether, lots of things. So we all kind of have a story to tell here. I think what I'm most hopeful for is teaching myself. Number one, I'm going to get religious for just a minute. You better, again, so if you don't love Jesus, just pause for a minute. It'll be over in a second. But, I think that Jesus so much is, I want to dig my well before I'm thirsty. So that when hard times come, because they will, when hard times come to me or my kids or my husband or whatever, my business, I want to be so indebted and tied in with Jesus that I can rely on him and he can be the strength that I need to get through things. And so I honestly feel bad for people that don't have that relationship because the world is terrible and the world is mean and it's lonely and I think it's isolating. And so, just as we're dealing with adversity and setbacks, but on a little bit of a lighter note, we all have a story with setbacks and adversity that we faced. And I think right now it's about coping skills.
Mm.
How do we cope? How do we help our team learn to cope and navigate adversity?
Yeah, 100%. I'll share a little bit about that. That's something that I really love to do with different teams, especially in the trades. You know that I'm on a newer walk with Christ myself.
Right.
I've been very open about that, and I feel like I'm a vessel that all I have to do is steer the rudder on the back of the boat, and I
Yes.
just go with the flow. And as long as I'm doing my part, then things are definitely working out how He means it to, not how I mean it to.
Yes.
Just going back a step on the adversities, I met my wife and I created those expectations, but then, then we struggled with my wife's dad passing away in 2010. He was only 59 years old. And then found out we couldn't have kids. We had infertility challenges. And so we started an adoption process. And then my dad passed away at 59 years old.
My gosh.
Year. And then that created a really unique pressure that didn't exist before, where I was like, I need to accomplish all of my goals by 59 years old because the most significant men in my life have died by 59 years old. So that's a real thing that happened. And so I started working even more and more hard and building the business, etc. And then we adopted our daughter, which was a massive gift. And that came out of those challenges. But then dealing with some infidelity challenges in our marriage also, those were things that really created, they stacked those challenges. And then fast forward to 2021, it was one of our best financial years, but I was miserable in my life because I had no alignment. And that's the year that I attempted. And my daughter saved my life with a phone call. And 7 months after that, my wife had a ruptured brain aneurysm and ended up in the hospital for 180 days. And I share that story because when I was going through that section of life, which was 10 years, about 12 years of my life, I just felt like such a victim, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was living in it. And it was really hard. And a lot of tradesmen and men in general, because it's a heavy male dominated industry, but now women are getting into it and are more involved, which is amazing. But men specifically feel like they just have to get it done, do it, get it done.
Yeah.
And then they apply these pressures, which they don't have to do. And so that's another big reason that Roar exists, is to be like, hey, you don't have to conquer the world. Okay. What you need to conquer is communication with your partner and what is important in your life and what is important in your faith. And so that leads me full circle to it's the 7 levels of energy. And essentially, we can really pay attention to how to control most of our days. And it's not a spiritual or it's more of like a biological thing, where if we recognize when we're being a victim, which is level 1, level 2 is a combative energy, level 3 is transitional. And so it's kind of like most tradesmen and tradespeople live in level 3, like, it's fine, I'll figure it out. And then level 4 is you win, and we can recognize when we need to help someone else be successful. Level 5 is collaboration. That's where I try to live most of my life, is in a collaborative energy now. And then level 6 is that synergy where everything is just aligning and working out. It's powerful. Level 7 is more of like an I am, like you're in full flow. So I always tell people, I never really felt what flow felt like until recently. And so I'm fortunate to feel like the flow that I feel is honestly just a gift. And so I think that kind of ties into what you were just talking about, how, in the trades, we just kind of lose sight of some of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And innocently we'll just be working towards things and not really keeping our eyes on what really matters. And listen, I was married to a he was a police officer. I'm still married to that man. But, when you deal with police officers or, people that are veterans or people that work a whole lot, marriage is extremely difficult when you get off kilter of you're apart a lot, everybody's working a lot, you're under immense pressure, whatever those roles are. And listen, everybody can think that their husbands or their wives, their role is exclusive. It's not. There's lots of careers that are very hard to navigate a marriage inside of. And then add that to personalities of people that are very driven and people that are very they just want to work, they enjoy work, so they love to work and push and pull, and then there's somebody at home. I mean, takes one to know one. Like, I constantly have to reset myself around my husband, who's not nearly as outgoing and driven as I am in the same way. He's got his own talents, but I'm like, golly, I just drag him around the country. Like, just hang on, but everybody loves Ray because Ray has so much that he brings to the table himself. But I have to recognize that I love to work. I love to talk. I love to do things, but it's always a thing. Well, here, last little thing, and not little, but unlocking the potential in yourself and others. I think is number one. I think what a blessing, what a gift that we have when we can help people discover who they really are and who what those hidden talents that we can bring to people. But Trapper, I know you started Roar, and I wanted you to give a little bit more color to, like, what is Roar? And isn't it, I think a core piece of it is unlocking potential for yourself. So what
Yeah.
exactly is it?
Yeah, Roar is awesome. And
It
what it
is.
is, it's return on relationships, but it's a deep dive into just what Crystal just said, is unlocking potential in a lot of different ways. And so, we have the 5 pillars. First is self. Second is your relationships. Third is your company, your crew. 4 is your industry, and 5 is your community. And so, when you go through those different pillars, it's kind of cyclical, because as you're doing that, you're creating alignment for yourself. But as you're doing that, the people around you, you're being vulnerable, because you have to create alignment. So you're being vulnerable with yourself and the people around you. But that allows them to feel comfortable to be vulnerable also. And then there's no judgment, because you're just being curious. And so it allows them to open up their insecurities, and that allows them to grow into their potential. And then when you just share those perspectives. And so it's kind of the basis of those 5 pillars. But Roar is really focused on helping tradespeople understand that their relationships are important, because they've just been neglected for so long. Our industry has been impacted by addiction, abuse, alcoholism, just so many negative things. But there's so many good people, and there's so
Yep.
many great relationships that recently, because of different things and how businesses are ran, the relationships just haven't had the focus that they deserve. And tradespeople are really powerful nowadays, not just with what we do, but financially. We are very valuable individuals in the trades. And so we're becoming more respectable, so to say, which is silly, because we should have been the whole time, and because we're human beings. And so now, when we're growing like we are, Roar is here to help people understand, like, your relationships are important. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your family, your kids, however that looks, your relationship with your company, your relationship with your industry, and your community. And so Roar ultimately is, hey, it's a group of tradespeople who are here to support, encourage, grow your potential, and help you understand that, listen, we know exactly what's really going on in your head. Even though you don't want to talk about it, it's going to be a safe place to do it, because we've been there and we've done it.
I love it. Been there, done that kind of vibes. And then unlocking your potential, surrounding yourself with people that motivate and lift you up and support. It's not full. I mean, I know I was privy to a conversation that me and you and several others had. And, like, it was a very common, we all came to the same conclusion. Like, we have zero desire to be your favorite place to come get hammered, you
That's
know,
right.
but
That's right.
and mainly because, like, that's not the community we're building. We want a community of people that truly deeply care about each other and care about success and want to support people in healthy ways. And I was really motivated by that conversation, because the industry, to each his own. I'm not here to judge people that enjoy that, but I walked away when I was 27 years old. from every industry event, like really motivated by these speakers on the stages and people that I was meeting. And then the more and more I got it as a vendor in the industry, I realized that not all of those people were really good people, good and solid people at their core. A lot of them were not who I felt like they were presenting to be. And that left me a little defeated because I was like, man, everybody just up here lying, but really at the end of the day, I had to learn, like, it doesn't matter what those people do, but I seek out. I feel like now when I enter a room, it only takes me a couple of glances around to figure out who are the real Pope people, who are the people that we can make connections to. And I want to have open arms and open conversations and it be a safe place where if you're recovering for addiction, come on in. You're recovering from trauma and tragedy, come on in. You're building your business you started 30 minutes ago or 30 years ago, come on in. Like, because this is a healthy group. And so I'm just really excited. And thank you for getting it off the ground and getting things going and having such a good vision for it.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped that you're a part of it, and I can't compliment what you just said enough in the sense that you just can kind of feel like the real ones, right?
Yeah.
And this group that's being put together is really special. I mean, I've had opportunities to meet with people that haven't been, like I said, kind of invited in just because they just didn't. It just wasn't the right energy, right? And it wasn't the right vibe. And the people that are a part of it, it's really special. And so, I'm super pumped for what it's going to become, and I appreciate you for being a part of it. And then just kind of like your energy. I know we talked about the faith part of it. We actually, just sharing this with everybody watching potentially, we talked about, hey, should this be a faith type of conference event? I don't think it's not, but I also don't think it's 100% is. But it's very accepting, and like we want to support people, right? And that was a conversation that I've had even after we talked. It's like, hey, you know what? This is, I believe, born out of faith.
Right.
But if
right.
we promote it that way, it might scare people to come or to open up and have that opportunity where, listen, I would be a hypocrite if I said 6 months ago I was the most devout Christian on the planet. And I still can't say that. But I can also say that, man, like, what if we closed it off? Who are we closing out?
No, for sure. And I loved that.
Yeah. And so I just think that the opportunity for what Roar can do for the people that need it. But also I really loved how you just said, hey, there are going to be boundaries to this thing. Like, this isn't like, we're not here to throw down and party like big time, like we've seen in the industries for a long time.
Truth be told, back in the early 90s, when I was a young, very, very young, like teenager, there was a song called Jesus Freak by the Newsboys, I think. And you don't have to be a Jesus freak, right? Like there's plenty of good people that maybe aren't Christians, right? That aren't Christians. But at the same time, it is a very common factor by a lot of us. And so to your point, like, this event is open to anyone that just wants to have solid and healthy relationships. If you happen to be a Christian, come on in the room. We love that. If you happen to not be, or maybe you don't want to be, or you don't even know what that means, you're welcome in the room.
That's right.
Welcome in the room. This is just, I love the vision of healthy relationships, because I also have good news. Like, if that's not your vibe and you really want like girls in bikinis passing around alcohol, there's plenty of other places to go.
That's right. That's right.
To go. But this one, I think it's for a different cut of people. And so I'm really excited for it. Well, listen, how can people, if they're really interested in what we've been talking about today, how can they get in contact with you? What's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, to get in touch with Roar right now is returnonrelationships@gmail.com. RoarGlobal.com or Roar. What is it? This is how new this is, people.
It is very new. Yeah.
So it's roar.global, because in the next 5 years, if not sooner, this is going to be a global movement. So this is something that we're super passionate about, going national and then global, but we're definitely focused on this event, January 27th, 28th, and 29th. We're going to be having a website up soon. There is a landing page. It's not awesome, so just give us some grace. And you can follow any of us that are
Yep.
part of it right now, and you can get information on it, whether it's Crystal or CJ Creative or Brad at WebFX. We have a great group of people. I'm Trapper Searles. You can find me anywhere online at Trapper Searles. Google Trapper Searles or Trapper and Garage Doors or Trapper and More. You'll find it, right? And then we're going to be putting out some really cool stuff over the next couple weeks. It's going to be a fast 2 to 3, 4 weeks. And there'll be a lot of movement in that, which is super exciting. So we're excited to have as many people as possible that want to be a part of it somehow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In Scottsdale, right?
Yep. January 27th, 28th, and 29th, Scottsdale, Arizona. It's going to be a 3-day event. It's going to be like a half day, full day, half day. The after hours, like the VIP portions, are going to be epic. And then we should hopefully have a venue by the end of the week. Fingers crossed. We just onboarded a event coordinator 2 days ago, which is super cool. And then, yeah, that's what we got for now.
Let's do it. Well, I'm really excited. Well, it's going to be a great time. So listen, if this really resonated with you and you're like, man, I kind of feel this and I want to be a part of it, I just encourage you to follow Trapper, follow me, CJ Todd, Brett Hitson, like you mentioned. Follow around, look for what we're doing. There will be more specific ROAR, ROR, content coming out really, really soon. So, well, guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. Trapper, thank you so much. I look forward. I'm sure we'll be talking again. But guys, if you loved this episode, share it with someone that might need to hear it. Share about ROAR and what we've got going on. Excited to launch something really fun and unique in the industry. Until next time, make sure you keep sipping lemonade, and we'll see you next week. Bye.